Now we are.
Yes, now.
Happy
Hi, how are
Halloween.
you?
I'm
Happy
okay. Happy
Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah. We're not matching shirts today.
Not
Look,
today.
bat wings, Ollie, bat wings.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, okay, so now here's something. They were supposed to come with little bat ears. No bat ears in the packet. So I feel,
Not today. Maybe next
yeah,
year.
I've been shortchanged. Yeah, maybe next year.
Yes. I'm not that much into Halloween, so I didn't wear any costumes. I'm
No,
sorry,
I'm
not
not,
today.
but I was very interested about the moon today because the moon is in Pisces today. So it felt very Halloween. It felt very, very appropriate for Halloween because of Pisces being the natural sort of 12th house of the zodiac, and Halloween having to do with all things, not just 12th house, but 12th house is quite a theme really in astrology for
Yeah,
Halloween. And the moon's there. And I was thinking, yeah, the veil is really thin tonight, which is the old-fashioned. So Halloween comes from that Celtic festival. I want to call it Samhain, but it's not actually said like that. It's said Samhain. But it's when the Celts believed that the departed souls would come back to Earth, and they would set places for them at the table and this kind of thing. And that's where the whole sort of tradition of Halloween comes from. So I think the moon in Pisces is perfect for Halloween.
yeah, because I guess that more people are in tune with this veil or, yeah, to the psychic energies, maybe
Yeah.
perceiving more things, the unconscious, and probably maybe some people have some dreams,
Mm,
maybe having messages through dreams, or
mm,
maybe people who are more, probably those who've got lots of water in their natal charts may have more psychic information, and especially because the sun in this is in Scorpio in this
mm-hmm,
period as well.
mm-hmm,
So yes, I think it's a good day to delve into the unknown, the unconscious, the psychic, and it's a good day to deal with this topic of the underworld.
mm.
And yes, and so if you want, we can start by introducing this meaning of Scorpio. Would you like to talk about more the Scorpion
Yeah,
period
sure. I mean,
or this
so
sign?
what? Yeah, sure. So what we're just saying is that both luminaries, so today the traditional planets that light up our charts, are actually in watery signs. The sun is in Scorpio, and the moon is in Pisces. So the light is dark, and it's just appropriate, isn't it? We've gone into darker nights, and the energy of Scorpio is, so in astrology, Scorpio, it sometimes gets a bit of a bad reputation, which is just one of those things that has stuck a bit and shouldn't do, because they always talk about Scorpio and the sting in the tail. This is sun sign myth that can be completely bombed out of the water, because what Scorpio is actually about is depth, the ability to go very deep, the ability, depth and transformation, the taboo, the ability to go where other signs actually can't go. I mean, if you've got a friend whose sun sign is Scorpio, forget about the sting in the tail. You've got I would say, a real friend for life. They're incredibly loyal and meaningful people. So they might not be flippant. They haven't got, it's obviously it's the sign before Sagittarius, and it's compared to Sagittarius's sort of ability to put their foot in the mouth and gallop away. Scorpio is quite deep and brooding. It can go to the depths. In my time as an astrologer, and the people that I've met, those people with strong Scorpio placements have been involved in professions to do with places and people that other people can't go to. So people who work with death, or who are working with very poorly people, or who work with just the unusual, obtuse, not the run-of-the-mill everyday kind of stuff, because it's not light-hearted stuff. But thank goodness we've got some of those Scorpio people around who will actually help us manage things like death, because death is very much part of Scorpio, the idea of death and birth and that transformative process. Well, because it's very much part of life, and Scorpios can take that in their stride, whereas I think quite a lot of other sun signs find that really quite difficult. It's something that frightens us. But we can move on to talk about that. But that's kind of like where my take on Scorpio is.
And we've got the well, this is and the Scorpion energy is also related to the Persephone myth.
Yeah.
So, well, basically Persephone was son of Zeus. No, was a female or a male? I'm not sure.
She's female. She's
no?
daughter.
Yes, female.
Daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And her dad was Zeus, and her mom was Hades. No.
So her mum is actually Demeter, the Roman goddess of corn. Yeah. So Zeus, king of the gods, and Demeter, and yeah, I mean, she gets Hades comes along, which is another word for Pluto, or Lord of the Underworld. So all those three names are into that dark territory of the underworld, and Hades rapes her, I think, and takes her down to the underworld, which is where her mother, Demeter, or Ceres, both those words mean the same. Her mother grieves for her so badly, as mothers do grieve for daughters, lost daughters, that all the corn stopped growing. So there was no food to nourish anybody. The whole land became winter, which is, of course, where we are going into, at least sort of in the UK at the moment, we're going into winter. And so the Scorpio energy is, as you correctly said, it's the myth of Persephone and Persephone's. And it's only when Demeter or Ceres goes down into the underworld and does a deal with Hades that they agree that Persephone can come back up to the earth for 6 months of the year. When she does that, it's springtime. So that's where it all comes from. It's like Greek and Roman myth. So yeah, it's the symbolism is about our winter months and everything dying or going back, the leaves falling off the trees, the dark nights, the cold nights, nothing growing, because Persephone has been taken from her mother by force.
But also, apart from, I mean, it has a deeper meaning also about transformation, about releasing what is not anymore useful. So I think, well, every time there's a Scorpion period, especially, well, now, obviously in this month, the end of October and the first 3 weeks of November, I think it's a good period to start unveiling aspects which were not obvious before, maybe through different kind of therapies or exercises or whatever. No, maybe just talking with a person, and the person just gives you some messages, or but at the same time, I think it could be quite challenging, or some dark aspects appear at that moment. But I think it's part of the process as the myth, like the cycle. So it's part of what is needed to evolve or to change, and I think that's a nice part of Halloween as well, of paying homage to the to the to our ancestors somehow, but just trying to, obviously not just tonight, but also during these 3 weeks or these 4 weeks, but realizing what we need to just let go
Yeah.
somehow in
Yeah.
an unconscious way, no? Or or for example, as well, there's a person who said that he's dreaming with this energy, so using this energy just to access a different level and trying to, well, just let um, this information appear.
Yeah. I think it's a really that's a really good way of looking at it. It's as a portal to transformation, as a portal to change.
Hmm.
It's such an old festival tonight, and the the myths and the history around the whole of Halloween is this idea that we can see through to the other side. The veil is thin. We can see through to what we might not normally see. And as I say, I was quite moved really to see the moon in Pisces today alongside the sun in Scorpio that we know is traditionally Halloween, because I just felt that gave that dream like quality, the ability to be able to access the realms of imagination and spirituality, whatever you think might be out there, really, because I don't want to get into too much philosophy about what might be out there, but the energy certainly around tonight, the energy tonight is really aligned with the belief of Halloween, that you can access people that you may not have seen in your ancestry for years. I mean, people dress up as ghosts and ghouls, and I walked down the road today and somebody's got like a coffin and a gravestone in the garden that I'm sure is all lit up now. Probably jumps up as you walk past. And this idea of sort of zombies and mummies and things. And I think the whole idea of dressing up came from, you've got to dress up to fight off the evil spirits, but to welcome the good spirits. There's the whole sense of that behind this as well. But if you take all of that and then put it with that lovely moon in Pisces today and the ability to dream, there's a real sense that this Halloween you could discover something very, very special, actually, something, or access something very special. And then what you said about, sorry, it's just a message flashing up there. It's going to be one of those sort of days. What you said about it being a time to leave behind kind of like the dead wood in your life and have a fresh beginning. Yeah, that's very Scorpio. Let's transform. Let's leave some of that behind. People are lighting pumpkins all over tonight. People are lighting lights to take them into the winter, and it's about what light can we light? What can we leave behind? Now is the time to make. I know that everybody talks about New Year being. I don't know what you think about this, but New Year, January the 1st, being New Year's resolutions. That never works for me because I go with the astrological year. So that would be March. That would be March for me. But this is also a good time. This is also a good time too.
Yeah, especially because we've got the energy, and the energy is there to use it, but to use it in a conscious way. Yes, that's why I think that now is a good period to do, to do different activities, or people who do family constellations or astrological readings.
Yeah.
Because you got the information, I think it's more accessible now. No, it's like there for you, but if you dare to confront maybe some aspects of your psyche that you didn't dare to do before. But yeah, I think I like it because maybe it's because I've got some Scorpion energy, but because I like the idea of transforming and deepening and trying to access, what is not obvious.
So I think that would be really, so you know, we've been talking. Ollie and I have been talking outside of this chat this week about draconic charts, which are another kind of astrology chart, and not to be used at the expense of a natal chart, but it's a soulful layer of information, or a layer of information about a person's soul. And so actually, with the current, you know, astro weather being Scorpio that can go deep, and the moon in Pisces, this is a really good time to have an astrologer look at your draconic chart, and to see what the lessons are from that. And I'm not going to go too much into it now, because you could do a whole, tons of stuff about the draconic chart. But Halloween's probably quite a good time to think about it. So ultimately, it gives you a bit of a guide as to whether you're, in comparison to your natal chart, how much of your soul path you're following. The sort of information in there about what you really came here to do, what your soul path is in life, because it comes from the nodes, which are the karmic points in the natal chart. And as we're talking about, you know, the night of the soul, All Souls Night, the Day of the Dead, it just made me think of draconic charts today, because that's like a soul map that is very, very special, very unique, needs to be used in a meaningful and purposeful way, and never takes away from the natal chart, but can give you a layer of, if you've, you know, I guess it's if you've had a sort of inkling or a feeling or a thought or a dream where you've felt that, actually, you know, this bit in my life is not quite working out. I think I need to be doing something like that, or I feel more attuned to that. I might be more aligned if I did something like that. That your draconic chart can really help, sort of maybe throw a bit of light into the dark on that.
Yeah, and I think, I think for those who have not seen or studied their natal charts, would be preferable to start doing their natal charts, because they've got like a basics of who you are. And also because I think the draconic chart is very interesting for those who, once they know it, they feel like there's something more, and they start, what you said before, realizing there's an inner call, there's a feeling like a push to do something. And maybe sometimes the natal chart tells you your personality, but yes, you realize there's something else. And when you study the draconic chart, you realize how there are different energies that sometimes they go together hand in hand, but other times they are conflicting for those souls who maybe have like someone who had all their planets squaring their draconic and the natal chart. So in this case, I think it's like this person chose like something challenging in this lifetime to do. So the Draconic chart gives information about what your soul prepared to do, what are some talents or your mission, you could say, align with your personality. So you're right when you say that it complements the information from the natal chart, and it clarifies many aspects, apart from telling you maybe things which need to be readdressed or integrated, because sometimes there's a purpose the soul wants to do, but the personality wants another thing. And how can I balance, how can I see the meeting point and trying to find out a solution.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right. You've got to start with your natal first and get to know that, and get to know. So if you haven't had a natal chart reading, that's your first port of call, because you've got to get to know the wonderful language of astrology and what it all means. I mean, I can still remember all those years ago having my natal chart done for the first time, and it was just an incredible eye-opener. And then when you discover there's a draconic chart as well, plus all the other myriad of things there are in astrology, it's kind of like, oh, wow, there's just more stuff. But yeah, I do like the Draconic for that. Kind of like different window. I think once you know a bit of astrology, once you're using a bit of
Yes.
astrology, once you're working with astrology to work on the lessons that you've got to sort out and things and deal with the challenges that are in your chart, the good things, the bad things, all of that. And it's a very good thing to do. So Ollie, if we were just let's come back to natal, because we sort of this is the moon in Pisces for you today. It just makes me want to kind of like float off into very webby realms, not to get caught by a big spider. God, that image came into my head then. That would be awful. But not that spiders are awful. I've been meaning to tell you this for ages, actually. Do you know there's a whole branch of divination that is around spiders?
Really?
Yeah.
And what does it consist of?
Yeah, do you know, I don't look too much because I actually really am quite scared of looking at spiders. So, but it's very appropriate for Halloween. But I know that it's been shown at the Bodleian, I think it's the Bodleian Library. Don't quote me on that, in Oxford. There's a whole has been maybe still going a whole exhibition about divination. So astrology's in there, but also this particular country, and I can't remember where it is, and there's a particular academic, doctoral professor, whose name I also can't remember, but he specialises in the divination of spiders. And I am actually very interested in that, because at key moments in my life, a spider will walk past. So it's just interesting. So that's a little bit Halloween-y for us to think about. But if we would come back to the natal chart, and we're thinking about Halloween, which, people are dressing up to ward off the evil spirits. So there's an element of fear here. And there's the themes of fear and death. We mentioned very briefly Scorpio energy, and the kind of like the modern feel for Scorpio, which is about the transformation. More traditionally, it was a bit more literal about death and birth. And the 8th house, and we've mentioned the 12th house. What are the kinds of things are you looking for in the chart that would explain somebody's fears? Or where would you, if you were doing a Halloween reading and we wanted to sort of dig out?
Yes, I would look at Saturn mainly, and also Pluto,
Yeah.
and and the 8th house and the 12th, probably the 12th, but mainly those. Well, the chart in general, because obviously people have not integrated some of their planets. They may be scared, and they may project that energy. So, but these are the most important planets as for fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would definitely go with that. I mean, I was born with with Pluto rising, on the ascendant, opposite Saturn. I was part of that Pluto-Saturn opposition, and I've been asked lots and lots of times, well, how does it manifest? And I think, quite honestly, it's very simple. It's a fear of death. Saturn is the fear, and Pluto is death. It's fear of the underworld. As a child, I couldn't look at pictures of coffins. It scared me. So I think there can be that sort of literal aspect to Saturn and Pluto in the chart. But obviously, as you get older, and here's Saturn talking, you have to come to terms with that opposition. It's been transited. So Saturn return at 28, then the next Saturn return at what was 57, 58. You have to come to terms with those aspects of birth and death. And certainly, actually, because Pluto's birth and death, I think the first Saturn return is probably more about, because of where they are in my chart, it was more about birth, and then the second Saturn return, it wasn't more about death. So it's just how those outer planets work. But so I've got the opposition in my chart because there's 60s is when I was born, so that's That's what a lot of people are doing. Saturn in Pisces, opposite Pluto in Virgo. I don't know about your Saturn and Pluto, and if you want to talk about them, but I think maybe somebody else's that you've come across in the time and how they manage these two planets.
They haven't answered yet, but I've got Saturn and Pluto in Scorpio, and they are quite close.
Yeah.
And well, basically, I experienced especially relationships and the cycles as a rebirth. As for example, I was looking at Fartaria, and I started a Saturn period or a Saturn decade in my 40s. So I noticed that much. And I remember when I turned 40, I felt like it was not afraid, it was
Yeah.
sadness. I felt sadness. And but as the year went on, I realized I was starting, my life has changed. It was like a turning point, and I needed to start a new life. Innerly, it was not as much as the outer life, but in an inner way. And I started like doing a work with my life or my soul. I don't know how to express it, but I experienced that I needed to mature. I needed to let go of things I did in the past. I needed to sort out different family patterns. So for me, it was very powerful. So I'm not that afraid of Saturn now, because I think it's rewarding me. I mean, in the path, it takes time, but I think is leading me towards the right path. So I'm happy to honor Saturn and
Yeah.
Pluto as well, because I think I see that it's necessary in life. No, if one wants to grow, it needs
Yeah.
to yes, to release the similar to a snake, how the snake let her skin go
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
to create a new one. So it's the same. So it's a a cathartic process, which
Yeah.
is necessary in life. So, but obviously during the process, sometimes, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
Okay, that
nice.
sounded really like because Saturn and Pluto in Scorpio. When you said that, it feels it feels like a heavy energy, but
Hmm.
actually Pluto in Scorpio is at home there. It's a ruler of the sign. So when you described a snake shedding their skin and that being necessary, that transformation, I think it comes down, and this is where it comes down to. I think we touched on it last week. We said people are scared of change, and actually, we have to change because we have to evolve as human beings. And if you don't evolve, Saturn actually comes along because Saturn rules age and time, and
Yeah.
Saturn will come along and hold you to account. Whereas if you work with that Saturn energy of, all right, I know I need to change, whatever it is, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels sad, even if it feels lonely.
Hmm.
These are Saturn words, aren't they? Sort of, even if you feel with Saturn guilty, you know, this doesn't suit everybody, but it's something I've got to do for myself. This is life, isn't it? You know, Saturn can be often involved in that because Saturn makes you feel guilty. But you've got to do it because you know that it could be your soul, yourself, your sun. It's got to evolve somehow. And you're right, because if you do that work, and if you listen to the lessons or follow through with the lessons that Saturn is trying to teach you as we age, as we get older, then Saturn is not the taskmaster of the zodiac. It doesn't deserve the bad rep of the Grim Reaper, because it's actually Saturn that's got the reputation of the Grim Reaper. That's an old name for Saturn. That actually Saturn rewards over time.
Yeah.
If you follow the lessons,
Yeah, but I think because I know some people who are older, or who should have done some work and they didn't, or not should, but they were meant to do that during their lifetime. And you see how if they don't do that work during the Saturn period, then they live their life is a mess. They are depressed. They don't understand. Everything is just reversed. And I realized that because at the right time they didn't embrace the Saturnian energy, trying to work hard and to order their lives basically. So I think it's very important to honor the Saturnian energy and to realize when we need to what we need to do in order to be okay, when we need to hear also our soul. And that's why I think the astrology, the chart reading, the Draconic charts are very, very useful, because you realize what you are meant to do, or who you are. And if you deny yourself, if you don't listen to your inner voice, if you don't start working towards who you are, the rest is going to be a mess.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly give people strategies through astrological readings to, if we can see that there's a Saturn transit about to happen or Pluto transit. I remember in my sort of 20s and 30s, Pluto went over every single one of my personal planets.
Wow,
because
really?
Because I've got a stellium in Sagittarius, so it came over the sun, then the moon, the nodes, Mercury. It was just like, okay, and there's a huge period of change. Huge period of change. And that's what I'm saying. And sometimes that change, you fear change just because it's change. And the lesson of Saturn there is that it's not so bad, it's not so bad. I think I was talking last week, I wonder if it's more difficult for different, I've got a lot of mutability in my chart, so actually change is something that I can manage possibly a bit more easily than somebody who's got predominantly fixed energy in the chart. And I think this is where a quick look at the Draconic chart can really help, because it changes the modalities. So we talk about cardinal, fixed and mutable energy and being mainly this. And I think you kind of get used to your personality or characteristics being like that. But if you have a quick look at your Draconic, you'll realise that actually, I have got a little bit of cardinal there, or I have got some fixed energy there, or I have got mutable energy there. So, it's not going to be so difficult to make that change. I have got the tools or the kit that I need to be able to go with it. I think a lot of life really is about the anticipation of something being far more scary than actually getting on and doing it. But I don't know if you feel that, Ollie. I mean, you've got that lovely Aries rising. You probably do get on with it.
With what?
Life.
Well, it depends. Sometimes I get stuck with things because I don't have I was thinking about that because I don't have fire in my natal chart. But then when I look at the Draconic, I've got 4 planets in fire signs.
You've got your Aries rising though, so you've got your ascendant in fire, but no planets. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So
okay.
It's a bit difficult for me. Sometimes I take the action and it works, but other times it takes it's harder somehow.
Yeah. But you've got planets in fire in the Draconic chart, which
yes, and that surprised me a lot, because it's true that I've got some kind of optimism and faith, but it's like, okay, you've got this faith, but then it's about you need to take action, do it, keep that faith in this life. No, I mean in this dimension. So it's a bit tricky. So that's why I think that Draconic requires some understanding of astrology, some experience, because obviously some connections are very clear, but other part of the information sometimes is about you need to experience it and to just to find your own way how these balances work together, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think
So
about it?
yeah, I was just wondering. We've covered quite a lot of territory, and we're talking about sort of fear and how we respond to it. So if we look at the signs by element, so if we look at fire, and so we mentioned cardinal, fixed, immutable, but if we looked at just fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and water signs, how do they go about dealing with things that they fear in sort of very general way? Because we are speaking in generalizations at this point, but how do
So
you think
fire
fire
as it is.
signs go about facing their fears?
Well, fire signs are positive, so they tend to take action. So they would react some maybe, or they would try to impose their will, or just to pretend they are stronger and not maybe not realizing they are not recognizing they are afraid, but trying to pretend they are everything is fine, maybe ignoring the
I
fear.
kind of recognize that being so fiery. It's kind of like I think fire signs get angry if they're scared. Yeah, it's like they're, I don't know, are they angry with themselves? Not necessarily, just angry at the situation. They just and then that will be their response mechanism. And I am speaking very generally now, but if you've got a preponderance of, it takes quite a lot to get a fire sign. It's somebody who's very fiery scared in the first place, because they're so kind of like, as you mentioned, they've got the faith, they're optimistic, they're jolly. That's not going to bother me. So, what do you mean we've got to, drive off a cliff at 100 miles an hour? No problem. It's not. Yeah, there's that sort of daredevil, risk-taking element with somebody who's got a lot of fire, and things will be all right. To such hope, and I think once somebody with fire loses that, then they run very scared and get angry, and want to fight that feeling. They can't find it hard at that point to rationalize it. They're so passionate about it. They're leading with their heart, not their head at that point.
Or maybe they cannot stop and they take a path and they think that everything is going to be right, and they don't reconsider. They just don't realize that it's the wrong path.
Yeah,
And then
they'll go on impulse.
the result can even be worse. Yeah.
They'll fire off on impulse, and could make things worse. Yeah, whereas if they just stopped for 2 minutes. It's interesting. I read quite a lot of psychology in my time of one thing or another, and there's a brilliant book out there called by a psychologist called Danny Kahneman, and he wrote about the system 1 and the system 2 brain, and the system 1 brain is the brain that just does it, whereas the system 2 brain is the brain that slows down and thinks about it a little bit more, makes more of a judgment and responds in that way. And certainly when I've talked to people in life, if I can feel that the system 1 brain is dominating, because you need it sometimes, but if it's dominating in dangerous situations, you've got to be able to tap into the system 2 brain. That's a really simple, oversimplified, in a nutshell, kind of the psychology behind that. But it's definitely, as an astrologer, astrology underpins those kind of reactions to fear as well. So that's fire signs. What about earth signs, Ollie? Do you know a lot of earth signs? I do, actually. I'm surrounded by them, but how are they?
They might probably use material world to just to avoid the fear. So maybe probably a person would start eating a lot when
Or
the
go
person is
shopping.
afraid, or go shopping, or boasting about their clothes, or maybe the material objects. Yes.
Okay, so dressing for power, that kind of, yeah.
Or driving their car, they've got a very trendy, a nice car, and they just go for they take their cars, or they spend lots of money on something just to give them a like a like a small present, not small, but yeah, I think they would avoid fear, consuming, buying, eating.
Yeah, I
Yes,
agree with you.
yeah,
It's something that's going to feed their senses and kind of like hide behind um, stuff items that they've got. Yeah, yeah. So it's quite interesting. They've got
accumulating things as well.
yeah.
Probably just
So
not what. Yeah,
yeah. So if there's a fear of, I think it can be the territory with certainly Sun in Taurus to be scared of not having enough money, for example.
yeah, and I think about an investor who is willing always to buy more, or to focus on stock market, investing or trading the whole time, like this rush, maybe because they want more, no, more and more,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they are afraid of just because I think that the point is that they are afraid of not recognizing themselves if they don't own, because the material world is like a refugee for them.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
their price. If I got more, I'm more secure.
Yeah, it's their
Yeah.
comfort. Yeah, it is their comfort. That's their security. Yeah. So the earth signs are going
Mm.
to like,
Yeah.
just make sure that they've got a mountain of cash or food, so that nothing bad can happen. So the fire signs are sort of trying to tackle it head on, and then getting scared and running away from it or making it worse, or trying to fight it. And the earth signs are trying to ensure against fear by making sure they have enough in the first place.
And the funny
And
thing
maybe
is
not
that
lending stuff out either, as you said, just not willing
yes,
to give stuff away either, you know not willing to share resources because might not have enough. I might
but the
be
funny thing is
vulnerable.
that when they behave that way, probably the opposite will happen. Life will take them out what they didn't want to get rid of. So
Yeah,
maybe they got bankrupt, or they lose lots of money,
yeah,
or someone steals them something, some properties
yeah,
or some object. So I mean, these things happen when there's not a balance. So I think being aware of what you are afraid of, it's really, really important
yeah,
in order to avoid these accidents, which are not accidents, but it's a way to rebalance your lack or the extra amount of energy you've got, and you need to
yeah,
have a balance in your
yeah,
elements.
yeah. Because this is where it really plays into the Draconic chart too, because there's that sense of karma. If you can access the more evolved way of living your life on this earth, this precious time that we have here, in a very evolved way, then the karma will ensure that not only do you have enough, but you're also feeling pretty good because you provided for those that may not have enough. There's a better feel to it, and I think the Draconic chart can show you that way. So we'll cover fire and air anyway. We're just sort of going through the elements and thinking about how do the different, just generalization, signs respond to fear. What about water? Are they going to swim away or get lost in the? Are they going to cry?
Yes, maybe they are because that's a negative. Always more introverts. So
Yeah,
probably they would get sad, maybe
yeah,
depressed, or they would be play the victim, just
yeah,
crying, complaining because of the what they, or because they are afraid. So it's about just not taking responsibility. Well, all signs can be responsible,
yeah,
but this one might try to expect someone else to save them, or the other way around might be the a water sign might be trying to be the one who saves others'
yeah,
lives in
yeah.
order
I was going
to
to
when
say
they
that.
project their fear
Yeah,
and they don't recognize it and they want to help others,
yeah.
and because they need to help themselves though. So that's also a problem because they are not addressing their own fear.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit flippant when I said, "Are they going to cry?" Because actually, it can be a very good thing to cry. It can be the most appropriate thing, it can be the best thing for you, because if you don't, you can get very, very sick. So that ability to express emotion is something that the water signs do find they can do that more easily than maybe other signs, and that's actually a good thing, because with those tears comes the compassion, comes the love, the understanding. And I know, as I say, we've talked about our charts a little bit, and mine's a lot of fire, it's a lot of earth. I haven't got very much in the watery realm in my natal chart, but when I go to the Draconic, there's a lot more water there. So my little lesson there is to tap in more to being sensitive, actually. Being a bit more sensitive towards others, a bit more empathic, maybe, because that fire can just go galloping off. The earth can cling too much to stuff, and water, if you have a chart where you don't have a lot of water in it, you can find it difficult to be empathic, and it's really important that you do understand that. So so it's, I guess, the downside. We when we're talking sun signs in astrology, we always talk about the positives and the negatives. So there's the sun side, and then there's the shadow side. We talk about those sort of things, and with so Scorpio, that positive energy is the loyalty, the ability to go to the depths, the somebody who will stand and hold your hand in some of the worst situations that you might face in life. But on the negative side, they can be a bit gloomy. They could be a bit intense. And intense can be a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, it just depends on the circumstances, because intensity can be great, but sometimes it's about being able to lessen the intensity a bit and come out and be a bit more jolly. So we've all got, no matter what we are, whether we're fire, earth, air, water dominant, or Sagittarius, Pisces, Cancer, we've all got these positive and negative sides to us. And with the water signs, the clinginess
what about, because we didn't talk about the air sign, which is, what do you think is the shadow of the air sign?
Okay, so I think we're talking
the fear.
Libra, Aquarius.
The fear.
Yeah. Again, so talking very generally, because the air signs are also very different in themselves, but very generally, they might try and really think their way through it. They're going to rationalize the fear, and that's probably quite a sensible thing to do. But then I'm wondering how far they might rationalize it, to what extent, so that they don't even feel the fear anymore, because it's like it's almost possibly a bit more like an AI or robotic response to it. It kind of like will categorize it. This is a human emotion. This is I'm not saying that all air signs are robots, by the way, but it's just like that the approach is to rationalize it. And I was watching Star Trek last night, and they were trying to teach Data, the robot, about passion and love and fear and these human emotions. And of course, he's got like a whole bank of answers about what these actual things are, but can't actually feel them. So I think that's an air sign might feel a little bit untouched by this. And I'm not sure if that then gives them the tools that they need to be able to cope with it, particularly if it was with interactions with other people, for example, because they kind of need to be able to tap into the human or the empathy or the water that might be that other human being. So they might feel that they're kind of like standing outside it and can't get to it.
Maybe they prefer to experience things, or to talk, or to explain things, or to get information watching things, instead of being present and stopping and realizing what they're feeling. Because, as you said, sometimes they cannot understand the emotions. It's something that is from an outer planet. So, and they prefer to reading maybe self-help books, how to do things, what to do in this occasion, what not to do here.
So rather than go with
And
their instinct or their,
yeah,
you know, so
and
this is,
maybe
you know, whereas I said the fire signs are going off with heart has overruled the head and they're just like throwing themselves into it. Air signs might be over intellectualizing it, and the head is ruling the heart. It's two very simple ways of looking at it, and it's over simple. But you know, we're only talking for an hour here tonight, not writing a book about it all. So it's just how you've got to kind of like present it.
but I think for the air signs it could be not scary, but think that in one occasion, instead of doing what they feel, maybe they do what they think it's right or what's wrong or what
Yeah,
is meant to be done instead of what's their inner feeling. And sometimes it's funny what you said before about the AI, because maybe it seems as their behavior is not natural, is not human, or is not appropriate for that occasion. Well, basically because they don't know what to do in that
yeah,
occasion, and they
yeah,
just follow. They need some, or maybe they need someone to do what they are meant to do. I think this is similar to what some people experience when they are attached or they follow their psychotherapist, and there's a kind of dependency on them because they
yeah,
don't recognize what's their emotions, and they need someone else to tell them what to do and know what to not know what to do, not to do. So
yeah,
maybe that's something they can experience also.
yeah, yeah. As I say, I think it's not for the. I wonder sometimes with the air signs, and certainly sort of with people that I know that have got a lot of air in their charts. It's not like Virgo who worries, but the air signs just cannot switch off sometimes. It's just going over and over and over and over. And it's almost as if, you know, with the fire, earth, and water signs, they can do something. It can't, even if it's not the right thing. Okay. So thinking about, maybe Sagittarius just going and just say, I'm just going to do this because it gives some sort of relief because you've done something. It doesn't matter. You've just done something. Okay. So you've precipitated an action and a reaction. You've started a chain of events here. It's just going to do something. Whereas sometimes with the air signs, they're just in their head and they're thinking about it, and it can become so that they're not sleeping or eating because they are just thinking all the time, and they've got to be able to find some way to get those words and those thoughts out into something. Journaling would be just such a good thing for them to do, just to get a better night's sleep. I would say. I think that's good for everybody. Actually, I mean, if it's going round and round in your head, write it down, get rid of it, so that you can get some peace of mind. But fear it's an interesting thing. So you know, there's a lot in the media about the amount of insomnia there is in the world at the
Yeah.
moment, and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when they say also that the veil is thin. And certainly if I wake, it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And even if everything is absolutely fine, that is the time of day where my worst fears will come into my brain, you know, about the kids or family and just those sort of things. Is everybody okay? What if? And I remember reading somewhere that there's almost like a biological reason why that is happening. And certainly, if the brain plays the same tape night after night after night, that tape is ready to go at 3 or 4 in the morning. You know, because the brain learns through repetition. So, yeah. So I need to get my journal out at 3 in the morning or something.
We can, because we talk about Pluto, the Scorpion energy, we can talk about the eighth house as
Yeah,
it is related to Halloween and this
yeah,
period.
yeah,
So, well, we talk about fear, which is one of the aspects or common aspects of the eighth house. But
yeah,
apart from that, I like this house because it's the unknown,
yeah,
because there are many aspects I like about the aspect of the energy, what you give and what you return in an unconscious way, because for me, thinking that just money you share with others, which is one of the keywords of this house, the shared resources,
Yeah.
or sex, thinking that behind that there's an energy that you give and that you return,
Yeah.
and there's a like a transformation because with another person, and it's like an exchange. For me, that part is quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
that's
then
the that idea of shared resources in the eighth with the eighth is a really good theme to go with, because the traditional astrology, it's the house of death.
well, it was pretty basic because when you
Yeah.
realize, for example, I remember twice I did a reading, and I saw the person had their moon in the eighth,
Yeah.
and those two people had a very very big inheritance from family, so
Oh, that's
they
interesting.
and that's very
Yeah.
very, I mean, for me it's like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Another person in their solar return had Pluto, and she told me the other day she's about to inherit lots of money from her aunt.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty curious
Okay,
to
so that's the
see
shared,
how,
yeah, the shared
yeah, the
resources.
big
That's a really
resource comes
nice,
there
yeah,
through something that is dying. And it's like, because Pluto takes you everything away, but it gives you lots
yeah,
of things also. So that's
yeah.
interesting, that process taking place in
The
the eighth
death and the
house.
birth, the death and the birth. So
Yes, how
you
this,
shed the skin to get the fresh start,
yes,
which
yeah.
is what we're
So,
saying everybody should do at Halloween, is shed your skins. Interesting, because we're the year of the Chinese wood snake in Chinese astrology. So shed your wood snake skin and get a new beginning now. But that idea of shared resources is really lovely about the eighth, actually. If we go back to the 12th, just flip back to the 12th for a bit, it's got, I mean, I think more in modern day astrology, we associate it with the hidden or spirituality or Pisces, the dreams. But traditionally, it was a bit grim. It was like institutions, prisons, hospitals, things that people fear. So I think there is fear in the 12th house. Even though, as I say, now it's ruled by Pisces. In the old days, it was ruled by Jupiter, which is jolly. But it's that, if you're trying to do an election chart, we would try and put our Saturn into the 12th house, just get rid of it somewhere that we don't want it like messing anything else up. So that 12th house is a house of fear too. So the 8th, actually looked that way, Ollie, the 8th sounds more positive than the 12th in many, many regards, because of that nature of joint resources. Yeah.
we've got a couple of questions. One is, what nightmares could befall me with Pluto?
What nightmares could befall you with Pluto?
Yes.
Actually, talking about, well, it's about nightmares about death, I would have thought. If just actually literally dreaming, if I've understood the question right, that would be, yeah, and the nightmare is a fear of change and transformation. Maybe that's Pluto in Aquarius at the moment as well. Maybe that is a real fear about the way that technology is taking the world, and fear about what's happening to the water and climate change. Pluto's big. It's traversing the outer belts.
And there's another question that says, what crisis might be caused by Pluto? I think extreme crisis, maybe it's a psychological crisis, maybe as for the money, no? Like Pluto might bring the person in a situation of survival, economically, emotionally, distraction, yeah,
Yeah,
psychologically, or sometimes it's physically, not many times, but it could
yeah.
be. Or
But
also, I think it's about also, especially when there's a psychological death of the person. For example, when a person, a mother gives birth to her baby, there's a
yeah,
Plutonian crisis. Sometimes they are depressed for a long time because obviously their identity changes. So that's also another interesting part.
Where Pluto strips things down to the absolute essentials, though, because that's what it does. It literally raises things to the ground. And I know we're out of time, but what it also does is it gives you the ability to make something from nothing. And I remember reading about this. This is going back years. Sue Tompkins' book about Pluto and aspects in astrology. You can actually make something from a shoestring if you've got a Pluto transit as well. So whatever might be taken away, you can create something brand new from nothing. It gives you such creativity. So I'll finish with that little bit.
Okay, so next week, Helen, you will not be in this program because you cannot attend it.
No, I'm off. I'm off next week, so it'll be 2 weeks. 2 weeks time that we'll be back on, Ollie. And I don't know who you're going to get to guest spot for me next week, but yeah, I'm sorry I can't be here, but
okay, but still there will be a program next week with me and probably with Jay.
Yeah.
And we have not decided yet the topic, but we will discuss it. So Helen, I will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, well, I want to say happy Halloween, and everybody just dream tonight, because, you know, the veil is thin. You might discover something. Okay. I'm going to take my bat wings off now. Bye, Ollie.
Okay, bye-bye.